This video I'm going to be sewing the gusset panel into the Sportbrief. I've already made notches on the center marks, both front and back. Of the fabric. I'm going to start with the front. I'm going to be sewing right sides together here because I'm doing a construction seam. I'm going to be doing it, putting my notch directly on the center point of the center seam here of the boxer brief. I'm going to sew down, start in the center and sew down one edge, then sew down the other. I'm going to be using stitch number 3, default settings. And I'm going to be using a 3/8 inch seam for the construction seam. And I'm using the bulky nylon and the bobbin thread. The reason I'm using a 3/8 inch seam allowance is the default needle position for my number 3 stitch is right in the center of the presser foot, and right to the edge here is 3/8 of an inch. So instead of having to worry about measuring, lining up, I'm just using the machine to help with this seam allowance, keeping the stitch line as smooth and as even as possible. Trim the thread tails off the start. Gonna turn the garment over. Do the other leg seam. following this down, lining up the fabrics. One of my next projects is to do a extension bed here for my sewing machine. Make it a little easier to sew some stuff. Trim my thread tails off. Now I'm going to top stitch with the honeycomb stitch. Width of 7, length of 2.5. I'm going to finger press open the seam on the inside. Myself a little bit longer start threads. When you top stitch with the decorative stitching in the bulky nylon in the bobbin, you do have to sew a little bit slower. Make sure you get nice even stitches. Let the machine do the feeding so they're nice and even. I'm going to be doing the crossover seam here. Take a few seconds to get all of this laying as flat as possible. And at crossover seams, sometimes you have to go a little slower. Manipulate the fabric as you go. Check, make sure everything's nice finger pressed open underneath. This garment is a 4-way stretch apparel scuba knit. The black is a 325 GSM. The red is a 345 GSM. It's got about a 15% stretch. I would call it a structured knit versus just a regular stretchy knit. So when you do design your garments with this fabric, you have to keep in mind that it will be a stretch garment, but not as stretchy as a regular cotton lycra. And then this is the bottom of the pouch here. This is the center short crotch seam. Then this is the gusset seam. And this is the front. I'm going to have to do another one for the back. See how taking your time and lining up everything? It's a nice intersection. Then here's the inside.